Would it have been more worth it to go through? Yes. I was going to be my house. I just spent all money I have. One of those. We are just using the best. Philly, Orlando, we'll see the U.S. when the draws are out yet, so we don't know. Like, we know the U.S. has a few different ways, and then the other ones are just but actually, once they got it wasn't that hard. So is that true? Well, yeah. I guess Julian probably doesn't write that. He wasn't. I can remember like it's a lot of your what is it? No I do. Layers together. Bill, do sir. You should ask. Hey, all right,
Does anybody need a mic check? Anybody need a mic check?
Never again.
Everybody back there? Are we're going to start over here with Dylan Davis, and then we're going to go to Stephen Means.
Ryan, you got to play a lot of younger guys early in this game and get important snaps. I guess first and foremost, an update on Kenyatta, and then second of all, what did you see out of Zion and Jarquez as well? And they're getting meaningful snaps in the first half.
Yeah, it was good to see Kenyatta up and moving around and, cheering on supporting his teammates during the game. So we'll take a look at it, but, have an update hopefully soon. But I think to see Zion make a play, Jarquez was in the backfield. I saw Logan make some plays. Every time you're on the field, it's an opportunity. And we're all looking to build trust. And when we put you in the game, the players need to build trust in each other, but you're also building trust in the coaches. And so whatever you do with the opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. And I thought the second offense went out there and went down the field. That was a great opportunity to go out there. And Lincoln, after I won't get into the details of the first run, we gave him another opportunity and he redeemed himself, like in Dumb and Dumber, totally redeemed himself. So that was good to see. But I thought, some of those guys, it was good to see them get in the game and then take advantage of their opportunity.
Stephen?
Ryan, you guys spent a lot of September bringing along Julian slowly to kind of work up to where he was able to show today. Just from what you've seen from him and what he showed today, what makes Julian Sayin how as your guys' starting quarterback now?
I think you're seeing his confidence improve every week, and how we do it is everything's thought out. Not everything always goes to plan, but we're very deliberate about how we try to bring along our quarterbacks. Sometimes we have to maybe put them in situations that they're maybe not ready for. But when you have a defense like we do right now that's playing the way we do, you can bring them along in a certain way. And you're seeing every week Julian play with more and more confidence, and we wanted to put more on his plate this week. We felt like he had a good week of practice. And I can't say enough about, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Ennis, Max Clare. All of these guys are very prideful. All of them want the ball. All of them, have expectations. And to see the unselfishness each week of a bunch of guys that just want to win, like that's winning football in a day and age that there's a lot that's going on. I think, I don't think it's even close that Jeremiah Smith is the best offensive player in college football. If it's close, I'd like to know who it is. But when you're a receiver, it's different than when you're a quarterback. And coverage can dictate different things, but Jeremiah just keeps playing over and over again, has an unbelievable attitude. And I know the fans appreciate that, but it's also good to hear, I think, from us coaches, just, how he practices every day. And the same thing with Carnell. Carnell's seen Jeremiah do a lot of different things, and now you're seeing Carnell take the next step. But he does that every day in practice. He does a lot of the dirty work. He does a lot of the blocking, and now you're seeing him show up. I thought Max played better. Made some better blocks and made some plays downfield. So he's really coming into his own. But to your point with Julian, I thought some of the throws downfield were very, very accurate. Made good decisions. Again, saw it well. But when you can be accurate underneath and get the ball out quick, but then also down the field, that's when our offense can really be clicking on all cylinders. So we're going to watch this film and see some things that we're frustrated with. We know where we need to go. And got to keep getting better. You keep hearing me talk about that because that's just the way it goes. You have to upgrade every week. But I do think that Julian's confidence is building, and I think his teammates, their confidence in him have continued to build over time. And again, I give the offensive line credit for working and straining to give him time back there. I give the running backs credit for their protection and also the receivers for their work every day in practice, because that's how it works. That's how teams get better. And so we have to continue to recognize that, because it's not normal. And that, to me, is what's going to make the difference for where we need to be.
Go over here to the right to Spencer, and then onto the left side to Cameron Teague Robinson.
You kind of talked about it a little bit with Carnell, but with him having a career day, how important is it for you guys as an offense to kind of remind the defenses that are coming up that, you can try to take Jeremiah away, but you can do this? And then can you just talk a little bit about Carnell in general today?
Well, I think that's the thing, because someone can say, hey, we're going to put 4 guys on Jeremiah. I mean, you could do it, and and he has to go out there and play. And when you have someone like Carnell and Max and our running backs, who then, and when we get the running game going, then you have to figure out how you want to make these adjustments. And then that opens things back up for Jeremiah. So when you have mature guys who understand that, then that gives you a chance as well. And so we have to continue to communicate that and make sure they understand. But yeah, I mean, when there's more attention over here, it's great to see the fact that we can utilize it over there. When you can't, that's when you're in trouble. And so that's why we have to make sure we're balanced in the end.
Go to Cameron Teague, and then right next door to Rob Aller.
Ryan, obviously, Brandon had that fumble against Washington, but you guys brought him back and said, you're still our guy. Just your thoughts on the way he did back there as a punt returner, and then obviously had the throw to Lorenzo that kind of sparked that play, kind of what went into that as well.
Yeah, Brandon is a captain. He is a competitor. He's a baller. And nobody was sicker than him about that fumble. If we didn't see the type of play and the attention to detail and the discipline every day in practice, then we maybe would have thought about it. But that was never in consideration. I thought he had a nice return there. Just missed maybe breaking it for more. But he's a guy who played quarterback because out of necessity in high school. And we saw something that we liked in Lorenzo. Played wide receiver at Notre Dame, as you know. And so we thought that maybe if we had the right look and the right situation and the right hash, that we could set something up. Doesn't always work the way you draw it up, but it was good to see the guys execute it and put it on the field because when you can use special teams as an advantage like that. And I think it was it just under 40 yards of field position. That's a big return for us. So, we got to keep trying to figure out ways to make an impact on special teams, but that was well executed.
Just a couple more. Go to Rob, and then over here to Austin.
Yeah, real quick follow on that. Is there any thought to saving those kind of plays, or is it put something on tape to let other people have to game plan that?
When you put something in, it's like I've done it before. You save it, and it never gets run. So it's like, I feel like let's come up with something new for the next time. Let's have a couple of these different things that we can go to based on situations because you just never know when these things are going to arise. And we can't worry about the score of the opponent. It's about us. So it's our job as coaches to be creative and keep coming up with things that can help us be explosive. And that's our job. But, but it's also good to see those guys execute that kind of, it gives them confidence to know that, we can do other things. Yeah.
Every week there's upsets. You have avoided that for the most part. What's the secret sauce?
Well, the first thing is, it has nothing to do with our opponents. You've heard me say that before, and I guess it sounds cliche and boring, but it's true. We don't save things for other opponents because maybe we circle them on it's about our training. And we believe that if we train harder than anybody else in the country and prepare harder than anybody else in the country, that shouldn't matter who we play. And so this year it's been interesting because you start with Texas, and then you have Grambling, then you go Ohio, then you go to Washington, now you're home against Minnesota. All of those weeks should have been the same. How we train should be the same. It's about us. The only people we believe that stopped us is us. And that's the way we look at it. Easier said than done. You have to have a bunch of guys that buy into that and believe in it. And you got to credit the players for showing up regardless of the opponent week in and week out. And that to me is what, if you want to be great, you have to be great all the time. Otherwise you're not great. You're just somebody that shows up every week and you don't know what you're getting. So that was a message to our team. Because it's about an identity, and if your identity is, that you want to be great, that you want to be consistent, that whatever those things are, we have a list of what we want to be. You have to do that every week. Otherwise, that's not who you are. It's just what you can be. And we talk to our guys a lot about that, but there has to be buy-in. And I think our guys do buy into that. Now, doesn't mean anything. We got to go on the road against Illinois next week. It's going to be a bear. You saw what happened in college football today. You got to bring it every week, and the team that's desperate and the team that's hungry is going to win the game. And it's our job to make sure it doesn't take a loss to make sure we are hungry and desperate. But these guys are still kids, and so you got to keep hammering home. But I do think the confidence is there, and I do think even when you watch their offense kind of drive the ball down the field early, there was still no panic by the coaches, by the players, forced them to 3, and then played great the rest of the game.
We'll do 2 more. We'll go to Austin and then to Steve Hellwagon. And then we'll bring in Julian Sayin.
Ryan, when you were talking about desperate and hungry and you were reiterating that on Wednesday, were you on alert that it was slipping in any way? Or I assume that's just something you say all the time, but was that what prompted you to stress it the way you did this?
Just always on alert. Always on alert because I'm sure that I've been coaching now for a while, and just never want to be in a situation where you go into a game and like a game catches you off guard because you felt like you weren't on it, that you weren't hungry and desperate, because when you watch teams that are that way, you see what you get. And so that to me is important to figure out, how do you have that mentality, yet when you keep winning, it's easy to take the problems and the issues and just say, it's not a problem. Like, I'll just say it, like Bo Jackson reaches the ball out on second down. That's a problem. We should not be reaching the ball out. That's going to be a fumble down the road. I'm just going to call it out for what it is. Like, that's an issue. And if the ball is fumbled, then we're in a different situation right now. And so we have to recognize the things that we need to get better at. The 3rd and 2, Lincoln should have been in the A gap. He bounced it. Like that's going to lose us a game if we don't recognize how important those things are. I love those guys, but we got to get them fixed. And really that goes to the coaches. We got to get that straightened out. We got to practice it better. We got to drill it better. We got to hold them accountable. So those are the things that, when you're chasing greatness, you have to be all over, and you got to take them serious. And it can't be after a loss when all of a sudden everybody starts sitting up straight in meetings, or you're going to get burnt. So like they say in the Navy SEALs, when you think you got it, you're about to get it. And we're far from where we need to be. So we have to stay hungry every day.
We got Lorenzo Styles in the back there, and we'll wrap it up with Steve Hellwagon.
Yeah, Coach. The Ohio State Notes, not sure you're aware of this, said with your win tonight, you've eclipsed the winning percentage of Newt Rockne, who is the all-time winningest coach percentage-wise in college football history. You don't qualify because you don't have 10 years in yet, but you're on the right path, it seems. Just what do you attribute 7 years of this and where you're at right now?
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is the last game I'll ever be coaching at Ohio State. I'm going to hang it up, and that's it. I'm going to do a walk-off right now. I appreciate being a coach here. No, a long way to go. It's, it has everything to do with the players, the coach in this place. But it's when you recognize how long some of those coaches coached, and you recognize, what they went through, and, the seasons and the different changes, you just can appreciate how long they coached. And, some of these seasons here are like dog years at Ohio State, but I'm just fortunate to be here, and I know what the obligation is. I know what the expectation is, and so do these players and coaches. So we'll just keep swinging away.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Yep. Appreciate it. And we'll bring in Julian Sayin to the podium. We're going to start here in the front row with Bill Rabinowitz.
Julian, last week, Washington prevented you from throwing deep with their coverage. How intent were you guys today on imposing your will and making sure you could get the deep passing game going, and how do you think it worked?
Yeah, I think we had a great game plan from the coaches, and I think they put us in position to take those shots down the field. And it all starts up front with the offensive line. They did a great job protecting, and receivers made some great plays down the field. So I think it all clicked. But we're not where we want to be as an offense yet. We're still growing and developing each and every day.
Go over to the left, Stefan.
I don't know if you were listening when Coach Day was talking there, but he was talking about the upsets in college football, the kind of consistency and the buy-in from the team, and having the same approach every game. Why do you think this roster, this group of guys, has bought into that the way that they have?
I think you see the upsets around college football, and our practices every day are intense. We're playing against the best defense in the country, and I think the competition out there is just so intense that it brings out the competitive spirit in everyone. The juice and everything, and the coaches harp on us. That like Coach Day said, once what did he say? Once you think you got it, you're about to get it. So I think you really you don't want to say I've got it. You want to keep developing and getting better.
Over here to the right, Stephen Means.
Julian, kind of to that point, your first month as a starter here comes to an end. It feels like they kind of brought you along gradually, week in and week out. What's the most important lesson you learned during your first month as a starting quarterback here?
Yeah, I think there's so many lessons learned throughout. Just how to play the position, and how to take care of the football in certain situations. And I think I'm still developing in a lot of areas, but I think the growth from the past month has been good, but we're still getting better.
Over to the left to Cameron T. Robinson.
Julian, we've heard from other quarterbacks in the past, Will, CJ, just how hard Ryan is on quarterbacks and the excellence he demands. I'm curious what that's like for you to go through on a day-to-day basis, and how that makes you better and consistent on a weekly basis.
Yeah, he coaches the position really well. In practice, he's very tough on us, and he wants to bring the best out of us. So, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's definitely very intense for the quarterback, and it makes your job a little bit easier on Saturdays because you have that pressure. In Tuesday and Wednesday, you're playing the game throughout the week. You're visualizing the game, you're playing the game, you're visualizing play it against the best defense in the country. And I mean, you've got Caleb down and Sonny Styles and Coach Patricia over there. So I think I think the competition in practice and the intensity that Coach Day brings is what helps the quarterback.
We'll go over here to the right to Dylan Davis and then to Tim May.
Julian, your deep ball looks fantastic this year. Obviously, you've hit on a lot of good ones. Obviously, there's a ton of work that goes into that throughout the week. But is that something that's almost like it's a natural talent to be able to throw the ball like that and drop it like you do, or is that just purely a product of working on it? And have you always had that ability? I guess even going back to high school.
Yeah, I think we focus a lot on it as a quarterback room and as an offense. Coach Day, we've talked about it a lot. Throughout the summer and throughout the spring. We practice those a lot and. We kind of have a marker where we want to leave it. And, the receivers do a great job of kind of holding their line and then making the play. The offensive line does a great job blocking. So I think it's, all a collection of just the work we put in, in the offseason and the summer.
Go to Tim May, and then we'll wrap it up with Patrick Murphy.
Yeah, following up on that, June, you seem to have a pop on your fastball tonight, too. I mean, the way you were very assured throwing some of those passes and stuff. Is this as comfortable as you felt yet being the starter in terms of just where the ball is going and who's catching it?
Yeah, I think every week, just getting more comfortable as an offense, as a group, and then, just individually and, just seeing things and processing it and, seeing my guys kind of make that break and anticipating the window.
Did you decide it would be Carnell Tate Day today? I mean,
yeah, I mean, the plays got designed up and he was making some great plays and the offensive line did a great job. Jeremiah had some great catches and had that touchdown catch, two catches, actually, 2 touchdowns. So I think it was just it was a collection of a lot of good things from the offense, but we still have a lot of work to do.
And we'll wrap it up with Patrick Murphy.
Julian, you've talked a few times about what it takes to get those big plays. It's not just your throw, it's not just you the line and everything. What's it like when that all comes together in the moment as you're throwing the ball? Just what is that feeling of, hey, this thing we worked on worked?
Yeah, it was awesome. The first one down to Carnell, we were kind of backed up. We threw the go ball, and I think it landed kind of like on the 30-yard line or something. We had a pressure from the backside, and the running back made a nice adjustment because we were in a play fake, and he ended up picking up the backside safety on the pressure. And I think it was just awesome to see that kind of happening, and then Carnell making a great catch, off the line blocking well, and I think it was just awesome to kind of see it all come together in that moment.
All right, Julian, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, dude.